Right now, somewhere behind your eyes, a machine is running that you never asked to install. It's replaying a conversation from Tuesday. It's rehearsing an argument that hasn't happened yet. It's convinced that a coworker's flat tone in one email means something is wrong, even though nothing is wrong. None of that is happening to you right now. Not really. And yet your body doesn't know that. Your palms might actually be sweating over an email. This habit of yours, this constant inventing of danger, isn't new. It's not even close to new. It's older than the wheel, older than farming, older than the idea of a home with walls. Long before anyone worried about a boss's tone of voice, someone very much like you was scanning tall grass, waiting to see what moved. So here's the actual mystery. Why would a brain built to protect you spend most of its time making you suffer over things that were never real threats at all? To answer that, we have to go back, way back. Picture the African savanna, long before anyone had a name for it. Small groups of early hominins are moving through open grassland, and they are, frankly, easy prey. No claws worth mentioning, no real speed, nothing sharp enough to matter against a leopard. For an animal in that position, math gets brutal fast. Miss a real threat once, and you're gone, permanently, immediately, no second attempt. But mistake the wind for a predator? You just look a little jumpy for 5 seconds. That's the entire cost. Evolution noticed that imbalance and built accordingly. Psychiatrist Randolph Nesse gave this idea a name that stuck: the smoke detector principle. A smoke detector that shrieks every time you make toast is irritating, sure, but swap it for one that only goes off during a real fire, and you'll eventually die in your kitchen. So the alarm gets tuned to overreact on purpose. Annoying, but alive. Your anxiety is that same smoke detector, still bolted into your skull, still going off over burnt toast. It was never built to be accurate. It was built to be early. Somewhere in that stretch of time, human brains turn into something new, relentless pattern hunters, not out of curiosity, out of necessity. A rustle in the brush is almost always nothing. But the one time it isn't, the humans who assumed danger and moved were the ones who kept breathing. The humans who shrugged it off as probably wind sometimes didn't get to make that mistake twice. Researcher Michael Shermer calls this tendency agenticity. The mind's habit of assuming something with intention is behind unexplained events. Rain wasn't just weather, it was a decision someone made. A god, a spirit, a will behind the storm. Here's the part that should unsettle you a little. That circuitry never got decommissioned. It's still fully wired and fully active. It's the exact same system that convinces you, lying awake at midnight, that a friend's one-word text reply is secretly loaded with meaning. Same detector, different century, same jumpy trigger finger. A second kind of danger creeps in, one that has nothing to do with teeth or claws: exclusion. Humans weren't built to survive alone. They survived in tight groups, usually somewhere between 50 and 150 people, a range anthropologist Robin Dunbar later mapped out. Get pushed out of that group, and you lose food access, protection, everyone who might help you raise a child. In plenty of cases, it was a slower version of being eaten. So the brain wired social rejection straight into the same alarm system as physical danger. Neurologically, I think I said something awkward in that meeting, and there might be a predator nearby light up disturbingly similar circuits. And this is where it gets a little absurd. Your nervous system genuinely cannot tell the difference between a group chat and a hunting party you might get left behind by. It still runs the ancient math. Acceptance means survival. Rejection means danger. on a species that hasn't needed that math to actually survive in tens of thousands of years. Your brain, quite sincerely, thinks a co-worker's cold tone might get you exiled into the wilderness. Something enormous shifts. Historian Yuval Noah Harari points to this window as the moment human thought starts building complex fiction. Not just tool use, not just fire, but stories, myths, futures that don't exist yet except inside someone's skull. This ability was, without exaggeration, one of the greatest survival tools our species ever developed. It let people coordinate hunts across dozens of individuals, plan seasons in advance, imagine dangers before they arrived instead of after. But that same imagination cuts both directions. The machinery that lets you plan next week is identical to the machinery that lets you rehearse disasters that will never come. Neuroscientist Marcus Rachel and others mapped this out through fMRI work in the early 2000s, identifying what's now called the default mode network, the part of the brain that switches on the instant you stop focusing on a task and immediately starts replaying old scenes or simulating worst-case futures. You're not malfunctioning. You're running prehistoric software on hardware built for spreadsheets and group chats. For almost the entirety of human existence, danger was short and physical. A cliff edge, a predator, a rival group at the tree line. The stress response matched that shape perfectly. A sharp spike, a decision, then it was over, one way or another. Now compare that to what actually threatens you today. An unread email, a vague comment from a relative, a number in a bank app. These threats don't resolve in 10 seconds. They don't resolve at all, sometimes for days. But your body still floods with the exact same cortisol, the exact same adrenaline it would use to outrun a lion. Except there's no lion, so the chemicals just sit there, with nowhere to go. Psychologists describe this as an evolutionary mismatch. Your alarm system didn't get worse. Your environment simply stopped supplying it with real emergencies, so it started manufacturing its own. Which means the anxious spiral you had over a slightly delayed reply wasn't a personal glitch. It was a 2-million-year-old survival system, doing its job 300,000 years past its expiration date. It started as a smoke detector, engineered to overreact rather than risk being late. Then it became a pattern-hunting machine, seeing danger and intention hiding inside random noise. Then it became a social alarm, treating your standing in the group as a literal matter of life and death. Then it became a storyteller, powerful enough to simulate futures that will probably never happen. Layer all four on top of each other, and what you get is a brain almost comically skilled at inventing crises that were never there in the first place. So next time you're wide awake at 1 a.m, spiraling over something that will almost certainly mean nothing by Thursday, that's not weakness. That's roughly 2 million years of survival wiring, misfiring inside a world that mostly stopped trying to kill you. The same paranoia that once kept your ancestors alive on an open savanna is the reason you reread a text message 4 times before hitting send. Carrying a Stone Age alarm system through a world made of glass and Wi-Fi isn't a flaw in the design. It might just be the cost of belonging to the one species that made it out. So the next time your brain won't switch off, it's not trying to ruin your night. It's still doing the only job it was ever built for. It just never got the memo that the world changed.